Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Digital Toolkit for 2020. Today's session is all about digital marketing. Should you be paying for it or should you be going organically? And how much should you be paying for digital marketing? We'll find out today. Please stay tuned while we introduce our amazing digital experts who have joined us today. There's myself, Katrina Puranik from Ranking Australia, and we specialize in Google Ads as far as digital marketing goes, which is a fantastic in the moment of need platform for your marketing campaigns. I will hand it over to the lovely Liam Fay from Lad Social to share his point of view on digital marketing.
Hi, so I'm Liam Fay from Audacious Social. We're based up in Rockhampton and service all of Queensland and most of Australia on the eastern coast. My views on digital marketing is simple. If you do your content right, you don't need to pay for it. There are times and places where spending a little bit of money in digital marketing can take your business a lot further, though.
Definitely. Thank you for joining us, Liam. Really appreciate your time today. And over to the lovely Andrea.
Hey, good afternoon, everybody. Andrea Anderson, Chief Ideas Specialist for your marketing machines. Using the famous words that Shakespeare wrote, to buy or not to buy, that is the question. So look, I'm really excited to have this conversation today because I like to sort of flip from one side to the other. And look, I'm really excited to hear what the actual team has got to say. So looking forward to opening up that conversation there, Katrina.
Very good. Thank you, Andrea. I look forward to your insights on organic versus paid advertising online. Lovely. Trevor sends his apologies. He was going to be here with us. It looks like something has held him up. I hope everything's okay. Over to you, Joel. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you. Why do you always make me follow Andrea Anderson? She's so hard to follow. She's quoting Shakespeare or misquoting Shakespeare and doing all this. She's got so much energy. I'm Joel from Oncord. I don't have the same energy as Andrea Anderson. So if you want to use Oncord, you should talk to Andrea Anderson or Katrina because they're very high energy and great, and they build websites and digital presences using the Oncord platform, which is an all-in-one platform that lets you manage your online presence or lets an agency set up a great online presence that you can have some control over. Yes, that's me.
Beautiful. Thanks, Joel. And we both cannot say enough about the Oncord platform. It is incredible and very powerful with what it can do. And it's actually put, just on a personal note here, I've had clients who have jumped into the Oncord platform and gone, wow, this is so easy. I can do it. It's so much better than WordPress. Not only that, faster than WordPress. So well done, guys. Thank you. Over to you, Kay, my dear. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, Katrina. Hi, everybody. I'm Kay Ridge from Dash Social. We deal in the world of social media and marketing, and I'm really looking forward to this session.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us, Kay. Okay, so please make sure that you have a coffee or tea or a cold drink if it's a bit warm where you are. You don't want to be missing any of the tidbits or advice that we share in this session, so please do stay tuned. Now, just going to stop my sharing my screen there for a moment. Where are we? Okay, so just to start off with, I would like to present an age-old argument among digital experts. Perspectives definitely vary, so I think this should give us a bit of room for debate, or friendly discussion, if you like, around organic versus paid. And I think the impression is different based on industry and experience, but I would love to hand the mic first to the lovely Andrea Anderson to share her perspectives as a marketing specialist.
Hey, thanks for that, Katrina. For me, it's much like breathing. Do you inhale or do you exhale? And in most instances, pretty much all instances, we should be doing both. Pre-COVID, I probably would have erred more on the side of organic ranking strategies and building relationships across a number of different avenues. So not just focusing all in your digital, but even at the time when we could meet face to face, then investing, a fair amount of your time even in building out those kind of relationships at networking events, breakfasts, business lunches, so on and so forth. However, with everything changing rather dramatically back in March 2020, and we still find ourselves sort of in a bit of a limbo even 6 months later, I find myself actually moving more to, moving a little bit, not more, but moving a part of me over the fence in regards to looking at paid ranking strategies. And as I know for most of us here in marketing, and I know it's the word that most businesses hate hearing from a marketer, and that is, it depends. And there are a number of elements and factors that we need to take into consideration when we say that. For starters, how long have you been in business for? Do you have a current network or database? How much of your, how many sales have you done, if any at all? What's the level of your credibility and respectability in the marketplace? Outside of you, who else is also doing what you're doing, and how well or badly are they doing it? If you're a startup business, then you're probably in a position where you probably can't afford to do any sort of paid advertising. So, and I know Liam's going to pick up on this because he's an absolute master at content creation. Video content creation is one of his little sweet points. So you need to be looking at, well, look, I don't have the money to go and do Google advertising or Facebook advertising or anything like that. So where can I best invest my very small budget and time? So it's always going to be it depends. And I guess the best way that I can describe it, it's like creating a chocolate cake, right? They all require the same ingredients, eggs, butter, flour, sugar, and don't forget the cocoa. What's going to differ is the kind of recipe you create or you use, and what the end result will look like. So for some of you out there, you might end up making a brownie. For some of you, it might end up just being a chocolate pancake. And for some of you, you may make a chocolate cake. So it's not a matter of whether I should do or not do. It's a matter of understanding what it is that you're looking for as a desired outcome, taking into consideration that you've got to be looking at all of the ingredients necessary. I mean, after all, right? Who wants a chocolate cake if you can't use real chocolate?
Fair point. I would like to, I guess, put forward the rebuttal on that one. But I mean, there's not a lot to argue with what you said. It made a lot of sense. So I guess, knowing from what I've seen of how you market yourself, Andrea, which is quite masterful in staying very visible. We all know who you are, which is amazing. We see you quite regularly on Facebook and LinkedIn, and wanting to obviously, look for content of yours to click on to brighten up our day, because you're always so bubbly, you've got that energy. So, I guess where it comes into, should we be doing organic or should we be doing the paid advertising? Is it something that the client potentially would have the energy to do? Do they like being on that camera? And do they have enough of what it takes to do it organically, essentially? Is it enough to build the content and they will come, so to speak? or do they need a helping hand? So I guess
Sure.
that's where the Google Ads, I think, would be very essential in a moment of need for service-based businesses, but definitely. Product-based businesses, I think social media is fantastic. It seems to be stronger on that side as far as paid marketing goes. But understanding, how much people actually need to pay for digital marketing. My go-to tool for that, and that's keywords everywhere.
Absolutely.
I can't speak enough of how powerful that is to inform clients, to inform ourselves as well, as to what people should essentially be reaching for as far as a budget for Google marketing.
If I could just jump in there real quick. I know when I resuscitated your marketing machines here in Queensland, having arrived from WA, I knew nobody and my budget was really limited. So understanding where I guess what works for me, and essentially what works for me is having people experience who I am and what I'm all about, for me was actually a lot more cost effective. Now that meant, and there's always a cost. I think people need to understand that marketing, there is a cost, or there is an investment, whether it's you pay for Google advertising or you pay for Facebook advertising, or in my instance, I invested very heavily for 6 to 12 months in going to as many networking events as I could go to, right? And that's how I built, I guess, my foundations for your marketing machines, was actually showing up, because I wanted people to, rather than who is this person online, I wanted them to experience what their service would be from someone like me. Now, what's really interesting is we're now moving into a situation for us now where we are considering our own paid advertising strategies as well for your marketing machines. We've built enough of a foundation. We know what we want to do. We know where we want to go. We know what we can do and what we can't do. And we've also come to understand where our niche markets now sit. Yes, I'm niching down as well, a part of my business. But if I look at some of the clients we're now working with, guess what they're looking for? Facebook advertising and Google advertising. They're looking for that. And, so what we've now realized as a marketing company is that we need to ensure that we've done the right analysis in the back end before we go to invest in any form of advertising. So, for example, we're using, and this might be a tip for people out there if they're wanting to do a competitor analysis, what we do is, as Katrina recommended, and I will always be thankful to Katrina for recommending keywords everywhere, because I just tell everybody. But what we then do is we do the Google Ads to see who's using those keywords. But then for Facebook, I go to Facebook Ads Library.
Yeah.
Right. And inside Facebook Ads Library, I type in the competitor. So we might have a competitor that shows up doing Google advertising. We now go into Facebook Ads Library and we do exactly the same thing. And then we go research who of our competitors are actually advertising. More importantly, what are they advertising and what are the strategies they're using? And we're doing this Kay and I are doing this for a client down in Melbourne who's in the aged care industry. So, we're realizing that we can, as much as 6 months ago, I would have been, look, organic, it's all about organic, get out there, talk to people. Not everybody's as masochistic as I am. Trevor is potentially, but, not all of us have this ability to be able to communicate effectively with people face to face. So once again, it comes back to the chocolate recipe for me.
Nice. Very nice. Thanks, Andrea. Okay, so after that, I would like to hand it over to Liam, but a quick welcome to Trevor, who's joined us. I hope everything was okay because we missed you at the beginning. So Liam, over to you. I will ask you to please share your perspectives on organic versus paid in social media, please.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you, Katrina. So I sort of figure that every single company out there has a certain number of customers that they can reach through organic marketing. And there's definitely a cap to that. There's only so many customers in your market. that you can reach. There's a hard ceiling. Same with advertising. There's only so many customers that you can reach if you're doing a Facebook ad, and only so many customers that you can reach doing a Google or YouTube strategy or Bing ads or putting up a billboard. There's only so many customers that will pay attention to that or see it or be interested in your product or service. Depending on what industry you're in, you're going to have more or less of one or the other. If you're trying to sell laxatives, probably not going to get a very strong market with people on Instagram. You're probably looking for a much older demographic. The same if you're selling fast food burgers, you're probably going to be looking for something a little bit more younger and hip. But where your audience sits is where you want to be focusing your marketing. So organic has its place, but eventually you're going to hit a hard ceiling with it. I have a very, very good organic client that we've been working with for 3 or 4 years now. The first year, 100% organic strategy. The first year we worked with them, we doubled their business. The second year we tripled. And then we've had double growth for year number 3, but we had almost no growth for year number 4. They're hard ceiling. There's no more customers in our market that we can attract to the business. It's a food service business. But they also don't have the capacity to serve any more customers than they already are. So going out and spending another $1,000 on paid advertising just doesn't make sense for their market. Sure, we can attract 1 or 2 more customers into the business, but they don't have capacity to do more work. So deciding what strategy you go down really has to do with who your client is, what type of industry they're in, what type of customers you're going to attract into their business. Alternatively, we worked with a car brand, quite a large service dealership, and they wanted to move away from just servicing vehicles into doing more high-end performance in four-wheel drive space. So we totally changed the strategy, organic one, where this is the car we serviced, and we serviced this car, to a paid strategy where this is the results you can get by doing this to your vehicle, and sent it out paid, targeting people who owned those vehicles. So it's a very effective strategy. So paid versus organic, I always encourage customers, whether they're a startup or they're a multinational business, to start with organic. There's a base of customers there that you want to get to be your supporters. Your organic marketing really is for your core support for your business. They're the people that are going to go onto your page every week. They're going to like things. They're going to comment. They're going to be your core customers. After you develop your organic strategy and you have it down, then it's time to branch out and look for those extra customers, the more high valued ones with a bit of paid strategy. But if you end up in a situation that we often do, you reach your capacity for that business, organic is where it's at. So that's my sort of strategy, how I sit in the market. Paid definitely has its place, but for me, it's always second to the organic strategy.
I have a question there for you, Liam, and it's probably the same response that I would have for clients who come to me as well. And that is, most of the time you'll get them coming up to you say, oh, I need someone to do some Facebook ads for me, right? What would be your first point of call? Do you advise on building the organic first, or do you jump straight in and go, yeah, that's fine, we can help with that, we'll do that up? But do you look at the organic first? So, what's that?
So if a customer came to see me and said, hey, I want to do Facebook ads, the first thing I'd be is why?
Yes.
If they say that we want to advertise, I would say, well, it's not your only option. What type of customer you want? Let's go through the options for you. If it's a case of, they just want to run Facebook ads because they want to run Facebook ads, well, we look at the best way to do it for them. But we normally incorporate some sort of organic strategy. So as a production company, we're marketing and a production company. We have the production company. I'm not going to send a photographer out to create one video, shoot one photo for one ad copy to go on Facebook. I'm going to send them out there and get them to do a batch, at least 14 images, 3 to 4 videos. Then I've got a variety to choose from. So I'd run the organic marketing alongside the Facebook ads. So I suppose that's the advantage of our company, where we do have the production company as part of business. A lot of agencies and ad agencies, they use online copy, stock photos, or they ask for imagery from the business. We're a lot more face-to-face. get in there with the cameras and talk to the customers.
Beautiful. Thanks, Liam. I appreciate that. So I guess the question there is, if we are going to look at social media marketing, what should we essentially be paying for? Or, how much should people be investing into Facebook marketing?
Can I jump in, Katrina?
In a moment, Trevor.
I was going to ask Liam a question, but no problem. All good. Thank you.
We'll come back to you.
The quick answer to that is I'd be paying for good visuals. Good visuals and good copy. If you do that right, it'll carry. After that, then decide how much you're going to spend. As a benchmark, we normally work on around about $10 a day in advertising budget. That's the starting place for any business. I probably wouldn't go any lower. But that being said, if you've got a very established market and you're just doing retargeting, you can get away with $3 or $4. At the end of the day, you bring your budget up to match what your capacity or your demand for your business is.
Nice. So when I am working with clients, I tend to recommend somewhere around, depending on their obviously what they're hoping to achieve at the end of the month, but it's usually somewhere around $20 a day average spend on digital marketing. Can be higher in Google Ads depending on the average cost per click as well, for Google Ads side of things. But I think Trevor's got a question there for you, Liam.
It's okay. He answered part of it. It's fine. Thanks.
Okay, no worries. So what I guess that brings us to just quickly is the LinkedIn, which hasn't been mentioned. I'd like to draw that question through to Kay. LinkedIn organic or LinkedIn paid marketing? What's your perspective on that area?
I think the thing that we need to go back and have a look at in regards to all types of marketing is the strategy. There is no point in doing organic or throwing money at paid ads if you don't have a strategy to go with it. What is the purpose of what you're doing? Is it brand awareness? Is it to gain more connections? What is the purpose? That's the first thing, and then have a plan and stick to your plan. The second
cake recipe. We need the recipe, Andrea.
Chocolate recipe. The next thing that I would be addressing is, if we look at it from a LinkedIn perspective, what does your profile look like? Have you filled in all the things that you need to? Have you put in the keywords that you need to? Then from there, I would be looking at my connections and growing those connections organically. Then from there, I would be using those connections to find the people you want to get in front of. If you do all that, you can then go and advertise on LinkedIn. But again, LinkedIn is going to say to you, well, what's your strategy? You tell us your strategy and we'll build the advertising for it. But what's the strategy? It's like going and getting in a car and not knowing how to drive.
Well, talking about strategy, I think we might aim that question to Trevor, being our resident sales specialist, which I believe would come right into the field of strategy. So what perspectives do you have on paid versus organic marketing and how much we should be spending, Trevor?
Very, very good question. Thank you. And this is very timely, this session for me, because if I could say from my own personal experience, talking about, paid and organic, and very much agreeing with Kay on this, and also to kind of build on what Liam was saying, I do a lot of work with digital marketers, and it's been a really interesting experience because as Kay just perfectly said is, and Liam, it's like organic's great, but the first thing that I say to my clients is, and for the process that I'm going through, if we're going to say we're going to be a mechanic and we're going to build a process, where do you want to drive this car to? And so if we said, whether it's organic, paid, and I call them ponds. Where are we fishing? Are we fishing in the LinkedIn pond? Are we fishing in the Facebook pond? Are we fishing in the networking pond? And what are the fish that we want to catch? And if we're talking about money as a measure, what type of money do we want to be paid for the services that we're going to deliver? And so if we were to say paid versus organic, all I would say is, what is the end goal? In other words, bottom line is, if it's going to be sales, it would be, well, if you're going to do an organic strategy, and as digital marketers, and I would say, well, guys, the brief is I want $20,000 a month gross sales revenue from my organic advertising strategy. Go build it for me, and I'll give you $5,000 to do it a month. Would that be a good return on investment? And they'd probably have a heart attack, as they generally, it's like, what are you talking about? Paid on results. And so I'm being a bit cheeky, but as we know in business, you want to spend $1, you want $3 back, right? So $10, $50, if someone's going to make someone $1 million and they give you 100,000, no brainer to me, right? So coming back to the organic and the paid, what I am leaning a lot more to these days, because coming back to my own journey, is what I'm really liking about the paid strategy is it's very measurable. You can really start looking at and going, well, okay, obviously we have to build a strategy. As Kay said, we have to build, and as Liam said, who's our fish? Who are we talking to? Am I talking to accountants who want to know how to, attract more inquiries and bring in more clients? Each client's worth $1,000. We need 10 a month. That's 10,000. How many ads do we run? What's the cost to run those ads? It costs us 2,000 a month, and we're making 10. We've got a strategy. If we're not, what do we need to tweak, chase, and adjust? So all I would say, coming back to my own personal journey, is I am leaning a lot more these days towards paid. Not that I'm advertising at the moment, but I'm really loving the numbers because, and guys, I'm no expert on the digital side, by the way. I'm very much seeing it that's the carburetor that's in the car that drives it to where we want to go. But I do know we need to know how it works, right? And so then from an organic perspective, all I would say on that as a strategy is, organic can be beautiful, but you can have 10 million zillion likes. But what if you then connected with, say, if it was the $10,000 goal, and you said, well, I'm going to go and reach out to my organic connections, see if we can get a strategy session going or a conversation. And if each one's worth $1,000 and you convert that into through 10 a month, that's how I'm working to convert organic into actual sales revenue. Just from my perspective. But for me personally, I am very much leaning towards the advertising side, because you can build a lot more catch points in relation to people registering. And I know we can too with organic. And look, I'm not going to say either way, they both can work, but coming back to what Kay said, and I'll add to it, what's the strategy? And from my perspective, what is the return on investment I'm going to get for whatever it is that I'm going to engage a digital marketer for? Thank you.
Beautiful. No, thanks, Trevor. I appreciate it. It is definitely the message or question that a lot of businesses have in their heads before they explore digital marketing, and it's definitely, what is that return on the investment? And with Google ads, Facebook ads, there's only so much that you can, I don't like using the word guarantee, because it comes down to a lot of factors: the creatives, the content, the organic content that is already there, the reputation of the clients themselves and their business, and how they've actually portrayed or put themselves forward, represented themselves to existing clientele. And then not only that, what kind of effort have they put in to manage their reputation online, which is really, really important. We had just a session or two before this one. If you have a look at the Ranking Australia Facebook videos, you'll see that you can go back and watch it, the reputation management episode. Definitely, being proactive in building that credibility online helps to improve the success rate of your digital marketing campaigns. and would reduce your costs dramatically as well. I'm going to hand it over to Joel Campbell from Oncord as a shining example of how to use Google Ads display campaigns. Now, the display campaigns are purely image ads, and usually you're remarketing potentially as well. So, but in order to have the success with remarketing to potential clients who had clicked on a previous ad, you actually needed to have the foundation there of previous campaigns that have worked for people to actually click on them. So over to you, Joel. Please share with us your journey with Google Ads.
Yeah, sure. Thank you. What a generous introduction. We do well with retargeting ads. We do well with organic search ads as well. I guess the main thing to consider when you're running retargeting ads is it's going to help the ROI for everything else, as long as it does. I mean, the math that you just want to be looking at for all of these things stays the same, which is how much does it cost me to get a click, and then how many of those clicks convert, and is my lifetime value of a customer worth more than what I'm paying in total for all of those actions. So it's a very simple equation, and if the math works out and your lifetime value of a customer, meaning that the total profit that you'll make from each customer is higher than what you're spending on the sequence of ads that you're using to acquire them, then you can go ahead and basically take all the spare cash you can muster up and throw it towards advertising, and you're going to get a good result. Obviously, you want to always be putting your money towards the advertising measure that has the lowest or highest return on investment. But that's basically the approach that we take when we look at it. The reason we find that retargeting ads I guess, have a really good ROI is that you've already got a captive audience. We take a strategy where most of our traffic is generated organically. But because we put a lot of effort into brand awareness in our organic strategy, we want to make sure that those customers who come to our website organically aren't falling off. I know that there's a statistic that goes around that the average person needs to see your brand name or your business 13, 14 times before they actually convert. Definitely can be the case with some of our ads, is that the person maybe originally hears about us at a conference, then they come and they, come onto our website, they follow us on Facebook, they see some content about us from Facebook, they start seeing our retargeting ads, and it can be, 13 or 14 different interactions with your brand before they're ready to make a decision. So that's definitely a consideration as well, and a reason why retargeting ads are probably our weapon of choice when it comes to advertising, and probably our best sort of cost per click and ROI. But obviously, yeah, like you say, that relies on a component of sort of getting out there and being visible in the first place to get those people onto your website, which is where people like Liam and Andrea and Katrina and Trevor and Faye and everyone, Carly and anyone can help you kind of get in. I don't want to leave anyone out. Can kind of help you get in front of people. So we've had a lot of success. I don't know if there's a particular creative or anything that I recommend, except that if you are trying to get people who have gone to your website and not converted, you probably want to address some kind of concern that they possibly have. So, if you're selling a widget and it's designed to save people a bit of money, but you also know that people are going to be less likely to trust your widget than the leading brand, you want your retargeting ads to say something like, this is why we're better than the leading brand, or this is why you should give us a go and try us instead of the leading brand. So really addressing some of those concerns that are stopping people from converting in your retargeting ads, we've found extremely powerful. So, for some people with Oncord, they'll go, well, it's a higher price point than the open source software that I'm used to. So a lot of our retargeting will focus on the fact that, yeah, it is a higher cost, but the value for money in comparison to what you're used to paying is significant. That's probably my best advice on what should actually go into the content. Yeah, does that answer your question?
I think so, yes. But I do believe that it's not a higher price point that you guys have. I think because of the value of the platform compared to what you have to pay for outside of it is astronomical. It's less than a fifth of the costs at least.
I'm gonna take this clip from this webinar and then use it in our next retargeting ad. It'll be so weird.
Feel free. Make sure you let people know about Digital Toolkit when they do come in and convert. Also,
for sure.
No, definitely, because I mean, look at things like Active Campaign. While it's incredible with the amount of features, I mean, you've got more features that you can focus stick at that you would ever even dream of utilizing. But I guess, you know, they've tried to cater for, you know, the many variations of businesses and different industry quirks that are out there. But you need something that works. You need something that is simple to use. On the grand scale, you've got mostly the largest percentage of businesses out there are small businesses. So you want to be able to cater for the majority of the market. So something simple, something easy to set up, and something that doesn't cost an arm and a leg is brilliant. So that's where Oncord comes in, and that's why it's so easy to sell as well. So well done. Coming back to, you know, on topic, what should people be spending? My question to you is, because I was really surprised when you mentioned what your cost per click is for your remarketing. But would you care to share with the rest of the world what your remarketing cost per click on average is at the moment?
Yeah, sure. So our remarketing cost per click is 16 cents per click. But what I would actually say is, let's not focus too much on the cost per click as well, because all that matters, like, we don't do it as a brand awareness activity. We just purely do it for conversions. So in the end of the day, our cost per conversion is what matters, and not just cost per conversion, because when we talk conversion with an online page, we're talking about who actually submits their data into the form. So the cost per conversion for a service like ours is different from an e-commerce store. If you're selling sneakers online, your conversion is when someone checks out, and that's when they become a customer, and that's relevant. When you're selling digital services or accounting services or what have you, your conversion is generally counted as when someone puts their personal information into the form on your website. Now, not all of those people are going to become customers, obviously. So you've got to break that down and say, okay, a third of the people who submit their personal info on my form are going to become customers. I'm going to take that cost per conversion times it by 3 because we're losing a third of them. And that will give you a rough idea of like, okay, well, this is how much it actually is costing me to get a customer. Our cost per conversion is also pretty good. But again, you know, if you just look at the little number in Google that tells you what your cost per conversion is, it's not going to be relevant. Unless you're running an e-commerce store, you really have to factor in how many of those drop off along the way and do a bit of math. And obviously for a lot of customers out there as well, your lifetime value of a customer is going to be different as well. So you want to relate it back to that always. If you're, you know, an accounting firm, getting someone to do their personal tax return is probably going to make you $50 a year. Whereas if you're getting a big publicly listed company, it's going to make you a huge amount of money per year. It's going to be a significant difference. So you want to always relate the cost to conversion back to how, you know, the lifetime value of that specific customer type as well. So
basically, the biggest message here is that if you're going to get into digital marketing, you need to get serious about your strategy and serious about what it actually is worth to you, what a customer is worth to you, and what value you're providing to the customer. Because if you are leaving anything out of the batter, the cake batter, thanks Andrea, then you're not going to have a successful, fluffy, light and very chocolatey cake. I mean, it also comes down to the brand of cocoa you're using too, I believe. Burnville, I was told by my grandmother, the only one. But in any case, you know, if you're going to make serious money with your company or your business, then you need to take things seriously. So I would not suggest having a go yourself and just leaving it be. You need to seek professional advice. at the very least to support your understanding of the various platforms, and definitely utilize the tools we've shared in the chat box there as well. There's I'll attach it, make sure that it gets attached to the live feed on the video. But that would be the ads library is brilliant. It's a recent discovery of mine. Thanks, Andrea, for bringing that one up. But the ads library is just incredible. The amount of content, you can see what any company has in their marketing at the moment. So you look up, say, Oncord, you'll see Oncord. If you look up Microsoft, you'll see all their ads. If you look up your competitors, potentially, locally, overseas or whatever, you'll see some of them don't have any ads, some of them have 1 million ads, or some of them have only a few. But I was surprised at just the sheer number of ads from a few of the ones I was looking up the other day. I was just, wow, mammoth amount. So, and these are all current and active ads. So this is what you're kind of going up against as far as building familiarity with your brand. And as Joel had so politely pointed out, it's not something that you're going to do overnight. It's something you have to build a commitment to. You have to continually, you're in for the long game with your brand awareness, definitely. So
Trina, if I could just throw in something here, because this is a question I always get asked a lot, and that is, Andrea, how much should I actually be looking at budgeting or putting together for, for marketing, not just the advertising aspect of it, but the actual setup and content creation. And something I use, I guess, as a range. And I normally say to people, you should be looking at anywhere between 2.5% and 10% of your projected turnover.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's anywhere between that of the projected turnover. So if you're wanting to, for example, do $1 million turnover, then you should be looking at the investment being anything up to $100,000. Once again, depending upon where, are you a startup business? Are you have you been operating for 2 to 5 years? Do you already have assets and the like? And if I could just also note, there was a real key point that Liam brought up that I just want to circle round to, because it is so vital. And that is, he talked about his client who's literally got a ceiling. There is a limit to how many people that business can realistically service without it impacting negatively on the service. And that's one of the big things I feel sometimes that marketers don't do well, is we don't actually look at the size of the market, the potential audience, because we're always interested on who's the ideal target audience. And if I could just give an example of a colleague or a client who invested in advertising, but we've now gone organic. He is a freight broker. So he's not a freight forwarder himself. He essentially brokers your importing and exporting of goods, right? Now, here's what's really fascinating, and I'm just going to own up to this one. I'm going to fess up to this one. And that is, he wanted to do Facebook advertising. I'm like, are you sure you want to do Facebook advertising? And he goes, let's give it a go. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I have to admit, I'm going to fess up here. I didn't follow due diligence. So smack my hand and I'll send myself to the corner and give myself a telling off. But here's what I didn't realize about his particular industry. And that is, out of 2.5 million registered businesses in Australia, guess how big the import-export number registered businesses there are in Australia? Hazard a guess. Importing and export. Give me a number. Somebody give me a number.
Ready?
10.
Keep going. Give me a number.
3,000.
Keep going.
10.
Keep going.
20,000.
There is only, I'll save you guys all the hassle, there is only 53,000 registered importers and exporters in Australia out of 2.5 million. So we're talking his marketplace is 2.08%. That's it, 53,000. give or take. There's probably less now thanks to COVID. And I said to him, dude, no wonder we're not, no wonder you're not getting any traction, buddy. Like, you're up against big players, and you're a small fry in a very, in a very small pond surrounded by big fish. And so what we did is I just said, look, stop the advertising. It's just not going to work. You're just going to be, you might as well just give your money to me and I'll go drink it or make a chocolate cake. So rather, what we've done is we've transitioned to organic content, where we're now more about let's enhance the engagement. Let's get more connected with people. And rather than trying to sell your services, no. Let's get personal here and let's start creating relationship. So in the 4 weeks that we've been doing his content for him on Facebook, his engagement's gone through the absolute roof. And it's really interesting because we do fortnightly catch-ups with him, and I don't have the stats on my head, but we've actually seen a massive increase in the number of people that are actually coming back and communicating with him. And we do things like we do a Friday quiz. We just do random stuff. We do a Monday funny. And we just want to, we've got to find his voice. We've got to attempt to create some form of personality around him so that people, when, we can create that credibility and respectability. By doing the organic, here's what's happened. He's getting and he's a small fry, but he's actually getting about 2 to 3 phone calls a day. Now, for many of us, that's probably nothing. For him, that's huge, because come next week, now that we can go out and do a little bit more, he's going back to beating the feet. He's going back out to meeting those potential 53,000. And they're not. And if you think about that's all over Australia, that's not in Brisbane or in Queensland. But he's now able to go back out and start building relationship. And what we've done is we've created a bit of engagement around him for the last 4 weeks. So, marketers need to take ownership of that part as well. And that is, how big really is his market share? What's realistically going on here? And that also is a major, barrier to how big we can grow.
Yeah, wow. Very awesome. That's, I think, similar story to what Liam had shared with us last time I seen you, I think, or was it prior to that? You mentioned it just briefly in your segment there, Liam, with regards to how much your client had managed to grow with the organic content. So what, double in the first year and triple in the next, and then obviously 4th year, nowhere left to go. So, but in saying that, your client wasn't able to take on more business beyond that. But I'm curious, Andrea, like, what was that? Are they still with you now? Like, are they still thriving now, and still, building that organic content? How long ago did this happen?
Yeah, look, we started month of September. We built out a bit of a marketing strategy. No, this September. So last 4 weeks.
Okay.
And what we've done with him is we create, and look, really simple. We do 3 posts a week, and we share those into 3 to 4 groups through the week, and one of my guys is available basically to answer any questions that may come through after each post. And what we then say to him is, right, this is what we're doing, so this is what we want you to do over the top. And we've been sort of quite strategic in looking at what kind of groups we can, this is all on Facebook, what kind of groups we can actually join into that will allow us to share. Some don't, some do. Some groups don't like us sharing some stuff. so it's been a real trial and error. And just to give you an idea, look, we are going after vanity. Let's get real here. We're going after vanity metrics here, right? Because we've got to start somewhere. So we've definitely seen increases in his visibility. So on average, we're looking, and we're not boosting, by the way, like no boosting, no boosting, no boosting. This is just us really finding his voice, helping him find his voice in how to communicate without selling, and building up those, sort of being that kind of person where when the time is right for the individual to want to reach out and go, hey, I'm looking at, they've already got a sense of who he is, feel for the kind of person he is as a service provider, not necessarily as a freight broker. But we're seeing, to give you an idea, we've doubled his numbers of likes on his page. And look, to be honest, and hey, they were only at about 70, 60 likes. We're now doubled that, which is really cool. We're seeing a lot more conversation and transactional conversations and comments happening on his pages. Like I said before, the engagement level's gone through the roof for him. And also what's happening is, as I said, he's getting, anywhere between 1 to 2 phone calls or messages on average a day. And then the
engagement is converting into clients. Yeah, nice.
Correct. Well, it's converting into inquiries.
Yeah.
And as I've said to him, is like the whole goal here is, you can't compete. You don't have the bank balance to compete. So let's not compete. Let's create that MOU, that market of the market of own uniqueness. And that's what we've done with him. And look, he raves. He absolutely loves what we're doing. So I just said, well, look, let's do this month and we'll see what happens.
Nice. So Liam, I'm just curious, what unique strategies you did with that company particularly that had that amazing growth in the first and second year?
Yeah, so our organic strategy always focused around one key simple idea, and that is when people go onto social media, they're looking for people. So rather than put the product forefront, we put the people forefront. In this particular case, the food service business was a butcher. So what we did was we took the butcher and went the butcher's pick of the week and got him to hold up his. We actually did a series of tests where we did a series of very dynamic, very staged, very set up photographs that looked absolutely spectacular, of the finished product. And then we did a couple of quick, simple photos taken on phones with the butchers holding the meat up. And I'll tell you straight away that the very simple photos taken on the mobile phones were the ones that, got 2 likes, hyper comments, people going, hey, go pick up that for dinner, instant results from it, as opposed to the very stylized photos. We've equalized our strategy now when we do very stylized photos with the butchers holding the meat. But the reason why the strategy works when you put a person in it is because it's real. It looks real. It doesn't look like advertising. We're bombarded by advertising so much. So as soon as we put a person there and made the post about the person, the copy was all about the butcher and not the product, it got so much more attention. That's how we built out their audience from start to finish.
Wow. That image you shared with us, is that from this client? May I put it on screen?
Yes, you may put it on screen. We have a whole heap of other random and exciting strategies. We're always looking for something new that we can do, but this is the results from the last 28 days. So very strong reach.
Still in the green with the in the 4th year, you say. So
yeah, still in the 4th year. We like to see a lot of actions because lots of comments to the page. More often than not, it's like, hey, can you make sure you keep some of that meat for me? I'll be in on Thursday for it. But you're seeing the phone calls out of it as well. It's nice to see the page views there because people are actually going to the page to have a look. Very strong reach, and we like to see, somewhere around about 40 to 60% engagement to our reach as a standard ratio.
And that's all organic, not paid.
Yeah, that's 100% organic. If there's any paid elements to that, you'd see a
green.
light blue line. Yeah,
Yeah.
green line. Green or whatever color it's meant to be, yeah. So you'd see another line there that represent the paid part of it. That's just 100% organic.
Nice. Have they thought
And
about, have they done the stories before?
yeah, so we've done a little bit of stories. It's a add-on that I charge for, and to this point, the client hasn't wanted to pay for it. So
Fair enough.
but we do have like those results. That's kind of pretty generic. It's not the sort of best results that you can get out if you're organic. But again, it depends on your market capacity. We're looking at a market capacity of about 68,000 people in our region. You start doing this sort of thing in your Brisbane or your metro areas, then you can quite easily get organics.
Where is this?
Up above 200. This is in the regional city of Rockhampton.
Up in Rocky, and they've got 68,000 reach.
68,000 is about your market cap for Facebook in this region.
Okay.
That's the sort of rough number of people that are on Facebook in this area.
Okay. Wow.
So we're reaching about 30% of the audience.
Yeah.
50% of the audience.
With the 35,000, yeah. Nice. Okay,
take note that strategy is not unique reachness. It's the number of times someone's been reached by some content that's gone up.
Yes, of course. Okay, well, I guess that kind of finishes things off for today. Very strong argument there for the organic side of things, but as I think it's been quite consistent to have a strategy that kind of, puts your hand in every pot when it's necessary, when you're ready for it, so to speak. But definitely having a strategy in mind and seeking out advice before you get started, I think, is a very clear message. So please make sure that you take advantage of, I believe just about anyone here will happily have a quick chat with you and assess whether you do have whether it's going to be beneficial for you to go down that pathway without having to, engage with any of us until that point. If it's necessary, well, then you can go further with our help, or take that advice on board and work through it yourselves as well. So there's lots of training online that you can take advantage of, but purely having a look at what your competitors are doing using the ad library tool. Now, I wanted to quickly introduce you to some really exciting news as far as what's coming up next week. Now, we're very excited to have a celebrity in our midst next week, next Wednesday on the 7th of October. I'm just going to share my screen. Okay, so who we have joining us next week is actually Kate Toon. She will be joining us as an SEO copywriter, award-winning author, you name it. She's done just about everything digital. So here's an article that I found of hers in B&T, talking about copywriters just a couple months back. I think it was June, July. Then you've got Kate Toon, her website, katetoon.com, very big on SEO and copywriting. So she has a lot of a huge web presence to have a look at, but and she's appeared in a lot of podcasts. She has her own podcast. She's got Facebook groups as well. She's just been so successful, and what she continues to do is she continues to share her knowledge with everyone. She's still doing what we are doing now with the digital toolkit. She's still online, still helping people, still providing her experience to help others build their success online. So we have invited her on the show, and we'd love to hear what it is that she did to succeed online. So we're very excited to have her on board and look forward to having her join us next week. So please make sure that you register for the toolkit for the 7th of October and jump in with us. I believe we should have a lovely amount of digital experts who will also possibly put some questions towards Kate, as far as, you know, what's worked for her, what hasn't, and any advice potentially that could help small businesses as well on top of her story. So we look forward to having Kate join us next week. And a big thank you to everybody here who has given their time to either speak today, thank you so much, or join us in the Facebook Live session. So thank you for taking time out to build your business as well. So we love attention. So please do like, follow, share the crap out of this video, because we really would love to have more people join us and rack our brains for our technical expertise and knowledge, because we love to share. And we look forward to seeing you next week. So goodbye for now. Make sure you tune in next week. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. Bye for now.